Sneaker backdooring is one of the most disgusting things in sneaker culture. It's heartbreaking, it's devastating to see these young, snot-nosed, pimply-faced kids flexing on Instagram with a whole mountain of sneakers that you and I could not possibly ever hope to get for retail. It's rife, it's been going on for ages, and as much as it's out there in social media for all of us to see, we feel powerless to do anything about it and can only really look on and complain. But what is backdooring? How does it work? Who does it serve? And how have so many people gotten away with it over the years? Well, these are some of the questions that we are going to attempt to answer in today's episode. You can define it and describe it in a number of different ways. My own personal take is that sneaker backdooring is when a retail store or a retail platform sell their stock allocation out the back door to private clients rather than selling them on the shop floor to public customers. It can happen in a variety of different ways, and it can manifest to a number of differing degrees. In its earliest and most innocent form, sneaker backdooring occurs when someone that works at a retail sneaker store, maybe like a shop assistant or a manager, just basically skims off a few pairs of the allocated stock meant for the public and just sells them on to a personal friend. This is pretty common, this is pretty innocent, and in my opinion is probably where this whole backdooring economy emerged from. At its worst, sneaker backdooring takes on an industry scale type guise, where you have store and brand owners essentially taking most of the allocated stock from the likes of Nike and then selling them directly to overseas clients at huge markups. So that in a nutshell is what sneaker backdooring is, but what is the evidence? What is it that we can point to say, aha, that's sneaker backdooring? Well, there's a couple of ways you can tell. One is the early presence of certain sneakers on the resale market available in full-size runs, and the other evidence is plain to see. When you see a sneaker reseller, particularly a very famous or well-known sneaker reseller, posing with a whole mountain of these kicks well before the release date, it's almost 100% guaranteed that these sneakers have been backdoored. And these sneaker resellers want you to know that they're backdoored because this just further enhances their credibility and their clout online, because they can be seen as someone that has very high-end connections. And so how is it done? If you guys wanted to watch a video that goes into a little bit more depth, actually interviewing people that have engaged in sneaker backdooring, check this video out by Daejin Park. Right, so this is how it works in a nutshell. This doesn't exhaustively explain it across all cases, but what you need in order to have a successful sneaker backdooring operation is access to a conduit, either a manager or an assistant manager or a senior shop assistant, someone that can give you access to the stock when it comes in. You've got a couple of options. You're either going to backdoor the sneakers to a reseller who is going to pay you a premium on top of the retail price for your efforts, or if you happen to be a reseller yourself, you can just backdoor them to yourself. The latter practice has been especially lucrative for a lot of people because you're essentially getting the sneakers for retail, or even sometimes with a staff discount, backdooring them to yourself and then using your spare time to sell these at a healthy markup on the resale market. If this is happening at a fairly small scale, then the risks are very low. But if this is happening at a very large scale, then obviously the risks are very high, because internally this type of behavior is very much frowned upon and likely to get you fired on the spot. So who wins and who loses from sneaker backdooring? Well, obviously the people that are winning the most are the likes of these retail shop managers, who are getting a nice little kickback on giving access to these sneakers early to resellers. Resellers are obviously taking a huge W here, and although they aren't paying retail, they're not paying market price either, and so the managers are eating and the resellers are eating. Who are the biggest losers? Well, you and me. We're the ones that are optimistically entering into all of these raffles, crossing our fingers and toes, thinking maybe we might just hit this time. We're the idiots that are up early or online for ages, camping out, thinking maybe we'll get access to this shoe if we can just solve this captcha, only to inevitably be given another L. Nike are losing as well with backdooring because large swathes of their customer base are continually being disappointed with the whole fairness of the game, and so are being tempted into other brands, as well as being tempted into buying reps. And so how have people been getting away with it? Well, the way that the whole backdooring game has been rigged is so that these transactions that go on are very hard to trace and monitor, because a lot of these transactions that take place are done in cash. In recent times, because the first come first serve has been thrown out the window and a lot of these releases have shifted to raffle and online, the transparency of these releases has been able to be concealed behind a digital curtain. And the Backdoor Network is a very tight-knit group of people who are committed to keeping each other happy and well fed. So what are some of the biggest examples of backdooring that we've seen in recent times? Travis Scott's e-commerce team. Allegations have been made in recent times that his whole team are making millions of dollars selling access to bulk sneakers, the Travis Scott Jordan 1 lows. You can see from this picture here, you got a mountain of Canary 1 lows that this reseller has been able to procure. And essentially the way that it works is his team will take an upfront fee and they work with prominent resellers to run bots, and they check out using the invoices they send for raffles, and then they take a commission from the sales. Another one of the biggest instances of backdooring that we've seen in recent times is this huge multi-million-dollar sneaker money laundering scheme alleged to have been overseen by James Whitner, the guy that owns Amamanier and Social Status. This story developed late last year. Now, James Whitner has had some interesting things to say in the past about backdooring. He says, and I quote, "I've had very candid conversations about the need for some stores to backdoor pairs. I'm not about to tell nobody who's late on their rent not to do what they've got to do to make rent." What he seems to be saying here is that backdooring can be justified if you are a retail store manager or owner, if indeed those profits and proceeds are going to your monthly rent or expenses or whatever, so that you can continue on in business. Now, I personally don't think that is a particularly good justification, but on the flip side, I can sort of understand where he's coming from. You guys might also remember the story of West Coast Joe. This was the son of Nike's former VP, Ann Herbert. This guy could be seen posing with literally hundreds of pairs of the latest hyped up kicks. All of these pairs, it was suspected, were procured through his mum's connection to Nike, and the storm that brewed up on the internet off the back of this story essentially forced her to resign from her post. But I think the most infamous and disappointing case of sneaker backdooring is of course the Jordan 1 High trophy rooms. This release went down in 2021 at a time when the sneaker market, it could be argued, was pretty much at its peak, with pairs of these going for pretty close to $3K at and around the release. Long before this release actually went down, a number of notable and prominent resellers could be seen posing with hundreds of pairs of these sneakers, prompting people to ask how could they possibly get their hands on these before they've even released. This inevitably led people to question Marcus Jordan, how he had managed to let so many pairs of his own shop's exclusive release get into the hands of resellers who were upcharging crazy amounts for these pairs. He came out and denied it, which only fueled people's anger towards him, because we all pretty much knew he was capping. And the reason that this backdooring escapade was so disappointing is because it came from Marcus Jordan, the son of Michael Jordan. Why does he need to backdoor these pairs to make so much extra money when he's the heir to an absolute fortune? He, with this release, had a really great opportunity to make it democratic, to make it fair, to reinstill some faith in the whole sneaker release system. But instead of doing that, he went and backdoored them to all of these bastards. All in all, I think it's a problem that's ultimately going nowhere, as long as there's going to be limited product and as long as limited people are going to have access to it and the ability to potentially sell it out the back door at a great personal gain. There is always going to be backdooring. What do you guys think? Have you guys got any cool suggestions as to what Nike or other big brands can do to curb this backdooring malfeasance? Feel free to sound off down below. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch the video. I really appreciate you messing with the content. Don't forget to go over and drop me a follow on IG and TikTok, and do me a favor and like the video before you bounce. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Take care for now, and peace.